Here we go. Thank you, Jerry Jones! I had a great time! Thank you. I'm going to exit the building now. Like a loser.
The house that Jerry Jones built?
It's a house for losers.
Yep.
Charles Haley was 100%
was right.
right. This, friends, is a house for losers.
Pretty much.
We suck. We suck. But I had a great trip.
Well, good Friday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Shout out to BetUS, where if you use the promo code YouTube150, you can get a matching deposit of 150% on your first three deposits of up to $2,000. So definitely do that today, and bet responsibly. And by that, I mean, don't bet on the Cowboys, because it's just bad. This is about as worse of a feeling that I have ever had as a Dallas Cowboy fan. There's no hope, but it hit me this morning. You know, I'm sitting here. Thank you all. We just hit 134,000 subscribers. How our numbers are growing, I do not know. I guess it's the trolls that are coming in for my misery right now, because as a Cowboy fan, it's time to pack it in. We are so inept, but it hit me this morning. You know, I'm actually glad that I went to Dallas for the game against the Eagles, because that was a big eye-opening experience for me, talking to fans and things that truly love the Dallas Cowboys, that have been fans of the Dallas Cowboys well before Jerry Jones and are still fans, but they're yearning for some victory. You know, and we did the sights and things and all that, where, you know, we went to the Star and hung out there and stuff. I didn't do the tour. I've done it a couple of times already and didn't feel the need to do it again. But Primetime Phil, you know, him and Game Time, they spent their $45 to go through there. You know, you see fans out there on the field, you know, throwing footballs, and the bars and the restaurants and the Avenue of Champions and stuff. It's beautiful sight lines. And you go to the stadium, of course, you can do the tour there. That's about an hour and a half long, where you can see all these beautiful suites and the great artwork and everything else in there. But there's nothing in those places that says we are champions, that we're here to win. I don't know how many of you guys are old enough to remember when Billy Crystal used to be on Saturday Night Live. And he had this skit that was, "It is better to look good than to feel good, because you look marvelous." And see, that's what it is. I had an awakening this morning. You know, I tossed and turned, and, you know, thinking about the Eagles, my friend Allie, who I've got to go up and see next weekend and do some work for her. Fly Eagles fly, and, you know, trolling me, and, you know, I get all the emails and the text messages and the comments and stuff on here, and just tossing and turning and saying, the Eagles are a good team. I don't know if they're better than the Lions, but the Eagles, they're a good team. That they are actually doing things to try and win. Doesn't mean all of them work out. Doesn't. They make mistakes, but they don't dwell on it. They don't try and cover it up. They don't try and tell you this was the right thing to do. They accept it and they move on. Here's the problem with the Cowboys. From Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones made a colossal mistake by firing Jimmy Johnson 30 years ago. And in that time, he's been trying to prove that he was not wrong in firing him. That I don't need Jimmy Johnson, because this is the curse of Jimmy Johnson. You may have gotten his name up there now, which now you look at it, and I'm sure when Jerry goes to the stadium and he sees Jimmy Johnson, it reminds him of his own personal failures. Because, see, Jerry Jones cannot admit a mistake. So when he's walking down the hallway and he knows that CeeDee Lamb could not see the ball, without being asked a question about that, he goes on a rant about the whole curtains and the aesthetics of the place and everything else. And this is why it'll never change. They will never put a curtain. We could end up having the SPF increase from the sun, where it's literally like, if you ever had a magnifying glass and you're burning ants out at your tree in the backyard and you set it on fire, rest your soul, Tony, my brother, that Jerry Jones still wouldn't put a curtain on. Because that would be admitting that the idea he had of making the stadium feel like an indoor-outdoor stadium, that you don't have the crazy lighting and everything else where it feels like you're in a cave, that you've got the natural lighting, that we can open it up and get the wind to blow and stuff, even though they don't open up the doors very often. Or we can open up the roof and it could be, the sun beaming down and God looking at the stadium, but he can't because of the TV screen that's in the way. That would be Jerry Jones admitting that aesthetically he made a mistake on the design of the stadium, where he was paramount on every detail, including the marble that are in the twin clubs that are up in the concourse. Jerry cannot admit to fault. That's why you hold on to Jason Garrett for 10 years, because he couldn't admit that Jason Garrett wasn't the right guy. This is why bringing back Zeke Elliott, after having been suspended by the team for not showing up on time, he's got to prove that it was the right move to bring back Zeke. And he fumbles the football in the end zone. Even though, when we look, here's what's crazy. When we look, no disrespect to Zeke Elliott and to his dad, but football has one thing to say: we're going to continue with or without you. And the train keeps on rolling. And in its wake are a whole lot of NFL players. Zeke Elliott, best rushing performance that he had all season was against the Browns for 40 yards on 10 carries, 4-yard average. Since that time, the next high water mark is 3.8, but a low of 2 yards. In the contrary, it literally took us to week 11 to realize that running back by committee when you don't have quality running backs is not working. And that Rico Dowdle quietly, surprisingly, has averaged 4.5 yards a carry this season. I bet a lot of you didn't know that. The only game, he had one game where he did not average 4 yards or more. Now keep in mind, Tony Pollard last year averaged 4.1 for the season. Rico is averaging 4.5. Yet, here it is, without Dak Prescott, he gets 12 carries. Against the Falcons, he was having a monster day. 12 carries, 75 yards. 6.2 yard average. Even against the Lions, he averaged 5 yards a carry. But he only got 5. So we literally have things that work. Somehow, we don't do them. And now the experiment of running back by committee is over. All these things, it's little things. It's well, we're going to bring back Zeke because, he's familiar. Fans will get excited. They'll buy jerseys. It's just a small piece. Waiting to get CeeDee Lamb's contract done. It's a small piece. It's not really that big. The curtains at the stadium, it's a small piece. The non-commitment to your coach, where it undermines his authority, is just a small piece. Relying on people coming back from ACLs is just a little piece. Not bringing back a Stephon Gilmore is just a little piece. Letting your defensive linemen go without getting quality replacements that are as good or better is a little piece. The injuries are a little piece. The injuries and not going out and trying to replace them is a little piece. And if you take any one of these little pieces, just a little piece, it's really insignificant. But when you take all of the little pieces together collectively, now you got a pile of problems, because all those things add up to losing. I felt differently sitting in AT&T Stadium than I have ever had before. I felt differently being out front of the Star. I looked at it differently from the standpoint of listening to Jerry versus the actions of what they do. Washington may not be ready to take that next step, but you see them climbing the ladder. You see them with the ownership that's working with the GM and the coach to give them what they need and getting out of the way. The owner is taking care of the stadium and making it more palatable to go to. The GM is listening to the coach about what he needs to get them on the field. And we can look and cherry pick failures that the Eagles have made in free agency, but you also have to look at it and say, well, damn, Saquon Barkley. As Saquon goes, so do the Eagles. That move right there counteracts all the other ones. That we see teams that are in cap hell manage the money so it doesn't prevent them from trying to get better. Now, make no mistake about it. It doesn't always work, because you can see what the Jets have done. The Jets just seem to be cursed worse than we are. The Jets have spent more money in free agency than any team out there and have had the worst results. Aaron Rodgers may be the worst free agent signing in history. Just may. You look at the players they've drafted at quarterbacks, although Sam Darnold is kind of turning his career around right now, but you can go down a long list of quarterbacks that have been failures for that organization. They at least are trying to do better. I can't honestly look and say that any single thing that the Dallas Cowboys did this year from the time we lost to Green Bay did anything to make the team better. Not one. I mean, they did the draft. You found Cooper Beebe, which is a major plus. Overshone has been good from last year's draft. Mozzie has taken steps in a positive direction where he's not – I know he will never live up to the standards that people want, but he's becoming a decent defensive lineman. But not re-signing a Stephon Gilmore, not looking to get premium talent on your defensive line, not getting quality depth. All these things are because the Cowboys decided we're not going to do those things for whatever reason. And you have to look back at Jerry Jones, who's not admitting that he's made mistakes. He's still telling you, we got the right guys in there that can turn it around. I am about as unhopeful of this team changing things than I've ever been in my life. Over the course of 30 years, I completely realize and recognize, as currently constructed, I'm not talking about the players, I'm talking about the front office. The Cowboys will not win as long as Jerry Jones is in denial about the mistakes that he's made and continues to make. You can't have a coach who's on the last year of his deal. You can't. You can't think that we're going to win more games by having lesser talent. You can't do that. You can't win when you go through and you have a terrible offensive line and you don't do anything to address it other than the draft. You can't win when you don't have a credible running game. And the coach can't coach if he doesn't have the players on the field to compete. So I'm going to finish this off this morning. Finish him with Rich Eisen. I guess tonight at least we have the Mike Tyson fight, so we'll be watching that. So I may need to start finding another sport to start talking about because we got 8 games left. 8 games left before the end of the season. There's not much hope. I mean, okay, the Texans, they're probably going to clean our clocks. We've been completely inept at home. What do you want me to say about that? Okay, I try and fill you up with false hope that, we're going to have a Mingo package this week. Oh, we got Mingo coming in, and he's practiced with the Cowboys for a week and a half, and now he's going to get put in there. He's the latest hope that we've had from a long list of guys, from Ryan Fenoy. that Ryan Fenoy, I can't wait to see him catch his first catch because he's got Des Bryant in him. To Dalvin Cooks. Yeah. Every week we get sold a new hope. Remember how, Cooper Rush, he's 4-1 as a starter here. And, we ain't got to change anything from what we do with Dak Prescott with Cooper Rush, because Cooper Rush, he's an experienced quarterback. Okay. And then there's the Trey Lance. When you have the opportunity to get a player of his caliber, with the 4th-round pick, that's nothing. The 4th-round pick, although we did use a 4th-round pick to get Dak Prescott, but that's nothing to get a player of that ability. Can't blame the players that are here. Can't blame the quarterback. Can't blame the coach. They don't have the tools to work with.
To the point where we're out of things to talk about. Except this. Honestly, we are now down to the sunlight in the stadium. That's where, because Dak is in New York, apparently going to get his hamstring reattached to his bone.
Yeah, get ready
He'll
for
be done
25.
for the year.
Yeah.
Cooper Rush did not look like the Cooper Rush that we saw the last time he filled in for Dak at all. It was brutal. They brought in Trey Lance against Philadelphia. That clearly is not an answer at this point in time that the Cowboys would even, I guess, consider starting him on Monday Night Football in front of the whole country against the Houston Texans, who are desperate for a win because they've lost 3 in a row. Like that doesn't appear to be even like, hey, let's see what we have in him so we can trade him for a higher draft choice later on in the offseason or have him back up.
He's a free agent.
Dak in 2025. CeeDee Lamb, fantasy owners are basically looking for the fantasy arsenic right now. The running game is gone. Micah Parsons came back and showed how terrific he is. He affected some things, but clearly can't do it all by himself. And Trevon Diggs, too, the great interception as well. I mean, they've got some talented players who are absolutely being consumed by the mediocrity, by the what's the words for it? The dreadfulness that's going on over there. And
words we can't say on Roku.
We are now down to talking about design flaws of AT&T Stadium. That's what we're down to right now. That and, Micah Parsons, after the, I guess, SPF gate, window gate, curtain gate, blinds gate, whatever you want to call it. He was talking about afterwards feeling bad for his veteran teammates like Zach Martin, who might not be playing anymore, and that this is his last year, and mentioned how, because he was being asked about Mike McCarthy. I'm sure you guys played that soundbite yesterday with Kirk Morrison being here. And he's saying, hey, Mike McCarthy, that's above my pay grade, and, he can go somewhere else and coach somewhere else. These guys are at the end of their careers. And, of course, a lot of people took that to mean that Micah wasn't caping for his coach, and thus Mike McCarthy has yet one more notch on the hot seat being turned up. So on 105.3 The Fan today, Jerry Jones talking about the Micah Parsons soundbite.
It was not meant, no matter how it sounded.
This is just ridiculous how bad it is.
As a critique of the coaches or the coach. It was meant as a concern for the veteran players, such as Zach Martin, that might not have that much more in their career left. And it meant as a concern to them because they don't have the length of time to right the ship as much as a player like Micah or the younger players. That's how it was meant. There's no doubt in my mind it was meant that way. There's no game. Mike does not feel, and Micah does not feel a lack of appreciation for, of all people, our head coach, Mike.
By the way, I totally believe what he's saying. I totally believe that's what Micah Parsons meant to say. The only issue is when you don't sign your coach to an extension before the season and you go all in with him like that, moments like this will bring about questions about his grip on the locker room and with the star players that we all know will be around for a long time, much longer than him potentially to come in Dallas. That's the problem. Also, after you've been told, hey, the team that we've got out there, that's the team we can win with, and they're now 3-6. So when Jerry is, I think, correctly and appropriately, describing Micah Parsons' comments and intents, it's tough to buy.
You got that right.
And then there's the sunlight that the rest of the league is shining on the Cowboys roster and ability to win. The football gods and the injury bugs have also made it much brighter of a spotlight on all of their issues, depth issues, running back issues, all of those issues. Listen, we all see it every Thanksgiving. On annually, maybe the largest audience the Cowboys play in front of. And that Thanksgiving audience, man, we see it. Dallas starts in the middle of the afternoon there every Thanksgiving. And we've seen
Nobody
it in
wants to
AT&T
see it.
Stadium. I don't know who decided, what architects decided to say, hey, Jerry, you want a big window? Jerry, this big window at a certain time of year, the sunlight's just going to come straight through it. And, everybody's going to have a tough time seeing, including the officials who have to shade their eyes from the sun to call the game.
That photo is, I can't get enough of that.
I mean, you want to talk about player safety. How can he see what's going on? Honestly, it's like you're on the set of The Martian. But we see it every year.
Every year.
Every year, and at every game this time of year as well.
Is this painful
it
enough for
happens
you guys?
all the time. But now that we're completely out of things to talk about with the Cowboys, we're out of it. We've run out of it.
Maybe we should have saved some stuff.
We've run out of it.
Could have rolled it over.
So Jerry brought it up himself in his post-game comments. CeeDee Lamb was asked about drapes. Blinds, drapes, whatever. Curtains. Well, it is curtains for the Cowboys.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
But Jerry was talking about the sunlight. And I can't believe there's sound bites for this, but roll it today.
All I can say is that stadium was built to feel like it's outdoors when you're indoors. And it was built to have sunlight coming in every way that you could put it out there as though it were open air, yet still being inside. It's the largest air-conditioned space in the world.
And what does that have to do with winning football?
Every venue has certain things that at certain ways and times in the contest can create an advantage. That really goes under the category of home field advantage. And so usually, and that's the case with us, that if there's a field, or in the case it's your home field, which it is of the Dallas Cowboys, it should be an advantage to the home team.
It's not.
So I don't want to adjust it for one reason, is because it is an advantage to us. But more important than anything, we know where, in basketball, we know where the dead spots are on the floor. That's our advantage. That should be our advantage. We get to play there more, and we get to have it as an advantage. It has been an advantage for us to know where the sun is. I don't want to change that.
The famed parquet window of AT&T Stadium. See, and because
Right.
put that photograph up one more
Not
time.
the same,
but it's
Jerry.
not. But there was one large floor in Boston. That's what you're referring to, the old
Right.
Boston Garden.
Yeah.
But there were certain dead spots where the Celtics would know where they are, but the rest of the floor was usable for basketball. This
That's
is
a
not.
fact.
This is not like only one corner of the end zone sees the light, and you have to avoid that corner of the end zone. It is blinding. The referee is shading his eyes, and the issue is I guess you can't control whether you're going in that certain direction unless you win the toss and you defer and you figure that out, or if the other team goes, you know what, we don't want that sun in our eyes. We know this field just like you do. We don't want that, so you have to deal with that because you lost the toss. It's not like the Cowboys are in full control of when they get to not have the sun in their eyes or when they do, because of the coin toss in the half.
Yep.
That's a sun problem. It's not like the Cowboys can use it to their advantage purposefully, unless, because there are, I guess John Machado was on yesterday, covered the Cowboys, saying that there are curtains for concerts and basketball.
Yeah,
and
games.
wrestling
they
and
have them.
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have them. Can they put them up and close it when they're
So you want a curtain staff, so when the Cowboys have the ball, curtains go up.
If there's a stat, I don't know if you're allowed to do that. I don't know if you
no
can
way
change.
that would be. You'd be
Other
able to
team
get that.
have the ball,
I don't know
curtains
if
down.
that's a competitive
That's
disadvantage.
like sending a snowplow out when
Excuse
you're
me.
about to kick a field goal. Like, you can't do that.
Mike Del Tufo, exactly. I knew he was thinking it. We're
Simpatico.
Okay, like Staten Island's practically New Jersey.
This is true.
Okay, the old
I
Giant
know.
Stadium used to have a garage
Yep.
that Parcells would open up.
I heard about that.
when the opposing team was kicking in that direction because
Yes.
it changed the wind.
Yes.
And would close. What's the difference
I know
between
the union
that
guys that used to take
and
care of it.
curtains?
I
or
think
blinds.
I don't know if anyone can see a door underneath the stadium being open and realize that
I mean,
they're
it
getting
was-
an advantage.
it
You start
worked.
closing and opening blinds.
Now,
That's
but
kind of
obvious.
now we're talking about there's a reason to have it. You can have an advantage, but the
doesn't
other
seem
way
fair.
around, the Cowboys can't fully control,
You can't control it.
That's close to curtain.
that. But what they can control is the optics of situations. They can control optics. So I will just say this because I'm always trying to make people better. Certainly since
Thank
I
you,
feel
Rich.
we're all part of one NFL team, NFL Network, NFL. Jerry Jones has been phenomenal to NFL Network since jump. So I will just say this. When there is an issue about sunlight and glare and whether you can see through the glare or not, do not have your head coach the next day hold a press conference where the glare from the window sun was so bad they had to set up a screen next to him. So everybody's talking about this. Can we get some drapes at the Star too? Let's get some blinds, some drapes.
We're a
lend
joke.
them ours.
Yeah, we don't
We've
use
got-
them anymore.
Can you
We don't
believe
even
this?
really need them.
So if people are talking about McCarthy needed a shield to see the press,
Only the Cowboys.
I gotta be honest, Rich.
do they need a win in the Metroplex or what? Catch the Rich